How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Mrs. Claus. This is from 2018, directed by Troy Escamilla, and stars Hailey Strader, Billy Brannigan, Kaylee Willams, and also features an appearance from two Scream Queens. We have Helene in this movie, who you guys may know from My Bloody Valentine, and Brinkie, who you guys may know from Slumber Party Massacre. Always great to see a classic horror movie actress. It was a really nice touch. The movie itself is a sort of guess the killer Christmas slasher, and it's very much trying to be like Black Christmas mixed with a little bit of Scream. However, it doesn't really pull off its vision. The movie doesn't really have the budget to pull off elaborate scares, and at times, especially towards the end of the movie, the budget really does show in the choreography. The scares themselves, the gore, the death sequences, those are basically just all stabbings, and granted they do actually put some blood in this movie, and they do change up what Mrs. Claus stabs you with. There is a little bit of an effort here, but at the end of the day, it's not any more creative than Mrs. Claus is going to stab you with a variety of objects. The acting here is passable, but there is a bit of humor in this script. I mean, it is trying to be a little bit like Scream, so you get self-referential movie stuff from time to time. But let me tell you, most of the humor comes off flat and really doesn't land. And from time to time, some of the shots do wind up looking pretty cheap, and I think all this combined kept me from really getting too invested in the movie. It just never really hooked me and never really pulled me in, and then in turn when we get to the Scream element, the who's the killer part, I didn't really care. It kept saying, don't you think it's this person? That could be a motive, or hey, this person was acting a little suspicious. But at the end of the day, I thought, yeah, maybe it's them, I don't know, but I didn't really care. And I don't want to harp on it too much because I did feel that the people who made this movie were trying, but either through budget or lack of access or lack of experience, the movie just never really fired and didn't really come off that great. It's okay enough for a super low budget movie. It's cool to see some Scream Queens come back, and again, they are trying. They just didn't really pull it off. But I guess before we get any further, let's talk a bit about the plot. No major spoilers and focusing primarily on setup, but what is this movie about? Well, we open up with a horrible hazing ritual. You see, this movie takes place at a sorority house, and sadly, true to real life, hazing rituals can get very darn bad. YouTube wouldn't like me explaining exactly what all happened here, but let's just say the hazing was so bad, it led to the girl who was the victim of the hazing actually killing the sort of head mean girl character, and then committing an act of what YouTube is going to make me call self-termination. Well, 10 years passes since this horrible incident, and we actually get the girl who's the younger sister of the mean girl character coming to this sorority and pledging there. And everybody says, oh, don't you think this is a bad idea? But she wants to do it as a tribute to her older sister, who she doesn't really believe any bad stories about. She says, yeah, she was probably a little mean, but no worse than anyone else here. And I have to say, I'm not 100% sure about this choice to make her the younger sister of the mean girl character rather than the hazing victim character. I think if she was the younger sister of the hazing victim, then her wanting to move here would be a much more sympathetic quest. It would be quicker and easier to read. However, the way the movie is set up, where she's the younger sister of the bully, could have led to some drama with the realization of, hey, there's this person that I loved that passed away, but they weren't the person who I thought they were. They were actually the bad guy. Setting it up the way they did leave potential room for a bunch of drama. However, sadly, they never cashed in on any of that. She just kind of denies who her older sister was and never really learns the truth. In regards to other fallout from this drama, every now and then it'll accidentally get brought up, and she has to talk about how sad she is, but how she's sure she can move on and make it through. And then we also get Helen Undi's character coming in and being the mother of the girl who was the victim of the hazing ritual and sort of being mean to the younger sister. And again, this would have worked out way better if she was the mother of the mean girl character, because her being an antagonist, denying what her daughter did, and saying your younger sister killed my daughter, that would have worked out a lot better, and I don't know why they didn't switch the two roles. Especially if they're not going to properly cash in on it. Whatever though. She's settling in for Christmas. They're going to do a big Christmas party. And for whatever reason, the friend that's throwing the party and wanting every little detail to be right is actually throwing it relatively close to Christmas. And everybody in the movie is telling her, people are going home for Christmas. No one's going to show up for your party. Which, yeah, that's kind of weird, for real. Just set the party right before everyone leaves. It will be a little bit early, but then people will actually show up. It's a bit of a weird plot element, but it's there to keep the party small and keep the characters manageable. Before the party starts, the main girl gets an email talking about how bad her older sister was and how everybody at the sorority house is going to die, and of course it's written like a classic Christmas poem and addressed from someone named Mrs. Claus. And it really is pretty much just this email. I think there is a few other messages later on, but when you look at how it's trying to mimic Black Christmas, just look at how much Billy calls them in Black Christmas, his performance and how explicit the dialogue was. It really had much more of an impact. Contrast it with this movie, where it's a couple electronic messages that aren't performed for us. You can see how that's a little bit flatter, right? Whatever though. A killer does show up. She picks off the person, again much like Black Christmas, who says that they're going to leave, so the sorority isn't too concerned with finding them, but the parents call Brinkie Stevens the university cop, and she's going to investigate where the first missing girl is. Yeah, very Black Christmas of them. But of course, the killer, Mrs. Claus, is going to pick off more and more people, and it is worth noting at this point that the cover art is definitely off. They try to portray this as the real Mrs. Claus, and they make her look like a real old lady, but on the back we can see that she's actually wearing a latex mask. That is the continuity of the movie. It's supposed to be a mask. It's supposed to be a who's the killer mystery. So yeah, don't expect the box. From there, everything plays out relatively standard. Some people sneak off to be with their partners, and some people sneak off to do drugs. And of course, Mrs. Claus is going to show up and pick them off before we get to a few twist reveals and big chase sequence moments. Again, not handled the best, handled in a very clunky, low-budget way, but whatever, we're doing Black Christmas and Scream, and that's how we're going to pan out. At the end of the day, it wasn't terrible. I've seen a lot of these low-budget movies that pan out significantly worse than this, and the fact that they were trying did mean something. It's just a seed that they watered, but it never really bloomed. If you want to see the classic Scream Queens, they're here, and I mean, there are a few okay moments. Just know that this is a clunky, low-budget film that doesn't quite work, but it's not the worst thing ever. I guess you could say a very mild recommendation to the right crowd. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be a Christmas playlist. If you guys want to see me talk about other movies kind of like this, feel free to click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.